Warning of an emergency. What supporters of XRP have long assumed has finally been verified by a leaked Federal Reserve document. XRP is being positioned as a key element of the emerging U.S. financial system, making it more than simply another cryptocurrency asset. Yes, you heard correctly. This is no longer conjecture. This financial revolution is complete. Additionally, one of the largest wealth transfers in recent history could pass you by if you're not paying attention. The FedNow system, a real-time payment network established by the Federal Reserve to update the foundation of American financial transactions, has XRP integrated, or at least in a position to be integrated, according to the leak. Furthermore, this is not merely a minor advancement. This has enormous ramifications. We're discussing how XRP contributes to a payment system that handles more than $7 trillion a year. We are looking at an annual transaction volume demand of $70 billion if even 1% of that flow touches XRP. XRP would skyrocket in response to such demand. But let's examine what actually transpired before delving into the figures. Just hours before the FedNow paper emerged, whales, those enigmatic and potent cryptocurrency wallets that house millions, transferred more than $200 million worth of XRP. That's well-informed action, not a coincidence. Before the general public, someone was aware of this information, and they positioned themselves appropriately. Why? Because the price action will follow once this information is widely accepted. Although $5,000 for XRP might seem like a pipe dream to some, the math shows that it's not only feasible but also possibly conservative. Let's examine the basics. The business that created XRP, Ripple, has been subtly bringing itself into compliance with international banking standards, particularly ISO 2022. For those who are unaware, banks and other financial institutions all around the world are adopting ISO 2002, which is an international messaging standard. It is the way that money will move in the future. And you know what? One of the few digital assets that is already compliant is XRP. Therefore, this compliance is strategic rather than merely technical. It enables XRP to directly connect to the global financial system's infrastructure. You know, banks seek minimal fees, timeliness, and finality. All of that is delivered by XRP. Let's return to FedNow for a moment. XRP was essentially created for quick settlement, which is what this real-time payment system is meant for. XRP can settle in a matter of seconds, in contrast to traditional assets that require hours or even days to transfer through antiquated systems. In a world where financial transfers happen in real time, that is not merely a feature, it is a necessity. The Federal Reserve has expressed a strong desire to modernize. Furthermore, XRP may be the only fit, not simply the best. Still not persuaded? Let's calculate the pricing now. We would be looking at a daily transaction volume of almost $66 billion if XRP were to manage even 1% of the global foreign exchange market movements, which surpass $6.6 trillion daily. When you use fundamental valuation parameters, XRP at $5,000 per coin becomes conservative rather than just making reasonable. The truth is that a monetary paradigm shift occurs when genuine demand, strategic integration, legal clarity, and institutional support are all combined. Furthermore, legal clarity is more important than you may imagine. In 2023, Judge Annalisa Torres declared that when XRP is sold on exchanges, it is not a security. In all honesty, very few other digital assets have gotten the regulatory approval that XRP did. It made it possible for governments, banks, and businesses to begin construction without worrying about the SEC. The reports of a potential XRP ETF application and a Ripple settlement are now more plausible than ever. Demand might suddenly soar if BlackRock or another financial behemoth files for an XRP ETF. The worst part, though, is that there are rumors that the U.S. government may be hoarding XRP. According to some insiders, XRP might contribute to the dollar's strengthening or perhaps serve as the foundation for a fresh financial reset. It may sound a little conspiratorial, but when you consider that central banks all across the world, from the UAE to Japan, are secretly investigating RippleNet or speaking with Ripple officials, it no longer seems improbable. Remembering what Ripple has previously achieved is important. RippleNet is used by more than 300 financial institutions in 55 countries. SBI Remit in Japan and Tranglo in Southeast Asia are two significant alliances. These are actual operational corridors, not only hypothetical ones. XRP is the liquidity coin that powers the infrastructure that Ripple has repeatedly demonstrated to be effective. And this is only the start. There are rumors that former President Donald Trump and Ripple executives met. According to some, they are debating how to update the financial system in the United States. The point is still the same whether or not that is true. Ripple and XRP are being watched by influential individuals, and they are not doing it for fun. They are acting because XRP has become too significant to ignore, and the consequences are enormous. Whales are moving back into the market in the meanwhile. Recently, an additional $60 million worth of XRP was transferred from a secret wallet to Coinbase. Now that may be a setup or a harbinger of a sell-off. In order to accumulate at lower prices, whales frequently jolt the market. You will be the one left behind in this game if you are not paying attention. However, if you pay close attention, you will see the pattern. Distribution amid hype, accumulation during fear. We're in the stage of accumulation. As if it were digital gold, those in the know are hoarding XRP. Let's discuss the special value that XRP offers. It is a bridge, a settlement layer, and a worldwide liquidity solution in addition to being a coin. XRP is intended to serve as the glue in a tokenized society where assets flow across national borders and blockchains. Its scalability, over 1,500 transactions per second, energy efficiency, cost, fractions of a cent, speed, and settlement time of 3 to 5 seconds. It doesn't use as much electricity as Bitcoin because it isn't a proof-of-work coin. Because of all these characteristics, XRP is perfect for the financial internet of the future. What does that leave us with, then? A monetary development is about to occur. You can see where this is headed without being a genius. The Federal Reserve recently hinted that XRP might act as a link between the blockchain of the future and the conventional banking system. That is a deliberate action supported by adoption, proof, and technology. It is not a conspiracy. The following 72 hours can be crucial. This is nothing new to us. The rumors come first, followed by the filings and the influx of funding. The naysayers will lose if BlackRock files an XRP ETF, if Ripple settles with the SEC, or if other documents surface that validate XRP's function in FedNow or ISO 2022 systems. XRP will skyrocket. Right in front of us is the opportunity. Don't second-guess yourself or get caught up in FUD right now. Now is the time to take action, because there's no turning back once the train leaves the station. And for those who claim that $5,000 XRP is unachievable, keep in mind that many claim the same thing about $100 Bitcoin. Now look where we are. In a sense, XRP has been given the keys to the US banking system by the Fed. The most upward potential in the current digital asset market is indicated by the integration with FedNow, the whale movements, the ISO compliance, the legal certainty, and the institutional buzz. This is your time if you think that money will have a bright future. Are you prepared? You're ahead of the game if you've watched this far. The proof is unmistakable. Now is the moment. If you thought this was helpful, use the like button, share it with other XRP holders, and leave a comment below with your predictions. Is $5,000 overly optimistic? Or not sufficiently bullish? Since XRP is